We could call this the Serrano show, but it's not just that. I mean, we're both Miguel Serrano. And what a lot of people don't know, Latico, how are you, man? Is that we've known each other for a quarter of a century. How are you?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You were a kid and I was a bit older than you, and I still am. But yeah. Yeah. We have the same first name, the same last name. We do the same thing. Well, you're a bit better looking, but I wear glasses.
Wow, hey, you've been going through a phase. You're a bit of a show off. I mean, I've seen you without a shirt, man. You're in great shape and living down south. Damn, getting all that sun and everything, man.
I really try to get a good tan. That's what matters.
Damn, nothing beats being close to the sea, man. I'm going to move back near the sea again. Hey, last night we saw a moment there where I'm going to tell you what I think now. You go on. I say this man is desperate to obviously talk. It's clear that he's changed. He's made a sharp turn because before it must have been another coach. And he said, Saturday came, the voting is on Sunday, and we have to announce this man here, even if we don't have him. Yes. To say that we'll talk to him on Monday. Sure, at first it sounds strong, but then you realize it's kind of a bluff. The club representative came out to say that he's very, very happy there and that he wouldn't want to leave. And it's a big bluff, isn't it? Do you think this will hurt him instead of help him, that it might set him back rather than boost him?
I think it's going to hurt him. From an electoral communication point of view, I think it's a mistake. I mean, just to say what the statement says, which is also extremely long, I mean, what they've sent out, for people to read it on their phones, it was mind-blowing. They say, we really like Klopp. Klopp would be perfect. We know that Klopp doesn't want to coach, but if we win on Monday, he calls Raúl, and since Madrid is Madrid, because there are teams, but then there's Madrid, so he doesn't want to coach. But to Raúl, he says yes. It's a statement of intent. Of course, I like Klopp, my mom likes Klopp, and Florentino Perez likes Klopp. But the thing is, Klopp doesn't want to coach. And so, saying you like Klopp, so that the headlines are, Klopp is Enrique Riquelme's coach, is trying to treat the member like a fool. And honestly, Miguel, the Madrid club member, is not a fool. And I think Enrique Riquelme, even. I think that up until the last 2 days, he has run an impeccable, very commendable campaign, and we have to thank him for there being elections. But I think this thing at the end, I think it penalizes him a lot. That's how I feel.
Well, it's the coach. I mean, it's the coach he chose to try to convince him. But of course, and also if you notice, the statement is so long, man, that you say something so specific, I lost it.
Of course, it goes around in circles a lot. Yes.
He keeps justifying himself so that, hey, in the end, he's going to say yes, damn it. You know, look, what I thought at first when I read the statement was that maybe they've tried to call him every which way and he hasn't even received them. And he said, look, you become president first, and then if you want, we'll talk. But just so you know, I'm doing just fine here. Of course, I don't have that idea.
It's just that, I mean, Florentino Perez, Real Madrid talks to Klopp in November. At the end of November, Xabi Alonso is still on the bench, and they talk at the beginning of May, on May 2nd, Friday, through Anas. Lagari, who is the person that has direct contact with Klopp's circle and with Klopp himself. As far as I know, it's not a physical meeting, okay? That Anas goes to Mallorca or they go to an international location. And in both cases, Klopp tells him that he doesn't want to coach and that he'd be even less likely to take on a job as demanding as coaching Real Madrid. That is, at 58 years old and after 2 years without coaching, the recommendation from his medical team is, hey, do you want to coach again? Perfect, but look for something easy. Look for a national team. Look for something that won't wear you down every day. I mean, it's not that Klopp doesn't like Madrid. How could he not like Madrid? Of course he likes it, but the demands of coaching Real Madrid are something Klopp can't take on. Do you think Klopp, who says no to Real Madrid, is going to say yes to a candidate for the Madrid presidency? It just didn't make sense.
Claro. Who do you think he had before? Because it's clear he had someone else, and he said, hey, if I talk about someone like Arteta or Emery, I'm not going to convince people. So I might as well go all in because maybe I know I'm going to lose, right?
He tries to approach Xabi Alonso before Xabi signs with Chelsea. Look, and Xabi doesn't even respond to him saying, like, I'm going to go back to Madrid for him. For him, that would have been a huge get. He tries with Cesc Fabregas because he wants a young coach, a coach with something to prove. Like, young ones aren't good enough for Florentino, but they're good enough for me. Cesc tells him no, that he's going to coach at least one more year at Como to savor that qualification for the Champions League. And with whom he reaches a gentleman's agreement, which is basically saying, look, if the circumstances are right, if I'm president and I offer you the financial terms we've discussed, you'll sign for Real Madrid. With Arteta last Friday, while on Thursday night, less than 48 hours before the Champions League final, what happened? That when he chooses Raúl over Hierro, both of them tell him, Enrique, if you go with Arteta, we're going to lose. If there's a chance to win the elections, it's with Klopp. Either we go for Klopp or we lose. And that's when he says, well, hold off on Arteta, which is just a gentleman's agreement. It doesn't require any kind of commitment from either side. A gentleman's agreement is simply, Miguel, I want to work with you. Great. If we agree and then don't follow through, that's it. So, he's been flip-flopping and selling the opposite. He said he would delegate, that he would create a professional structure, and that he would do whatever the sporting director told him on sporting matters. And that hasn't happened. And to me, that's a big flaw in the candidacy.
Hey, and what about Haaland? Because here I say, if this is a lie, the player is just one tweet away from ruining this man's candidacy and saying this isn't true. However, the player hasn't done it. What's your take on that?
No, I know for a fact that last Saturday, exactly a week ago, he spoke with Haaland's father in Marbella, as El Mundo reported. And that's true. He made the same agreement in principle as with Fabregas. Basically, if everything falls into place, this, and this. And Riquelme's camp assures me that the clause exists and that it is less than £150 million. It's a very affordable clause, Miguel. Very, very payable. Yes, you. Also, I've spent 3 days looking for the official statement on City's website. There's no official statement. Correct. There's a denial from an anonymous spokesperson quoted by journalists. So, yesterday and the day before, on City's website, there was the first part of an interview with City's chairman, saying, we know the plan we have for the future, we know what we're going to buy, what we're going to sell. Damn, you put out a statement saying Manchester City strongly denies it. That Erling Haaland has a release clause and therefore all the information, blah, 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 is a lie. We don't know how to do it. We reserve the right to take legal action. But put it on the damn website, a 3 or 4 paragraph statement. There wasn't one. And if you look at Rafaela Pimenta's denial, I think it's word for word. Very funny, but it's not true. Good luck to both candidates. Is that a denial? Come on. A denial it's absolutely false to say that Erling Haaland has an agreement with Enrique Riquelme. We ask the candidate for the Madrid elections to retract his statements, or we will take legal action, and if necessary, the appropriate legal actions to defend our privacy, blah, 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 blah. That's a threat of intimidation. Yeah, that's a denial. The other thing is, it's funny, but it's not true. Yes, it's true that he says it's not true, but I know for a fact that what Mucha says is not true, but I know for sure about the Haaland thing. That's why the notary goes to do the paperwork, or to Florentino, the candidates. Is that a denial? A denial means it's false to say that there was any deal with Enrique. If I'm told the clause exists, I have to believe it unless City officially denies it.
That's why it would have been enough for the coach to just say, relax, we're going for the best, and so on. And if, as in this case, and also as it appears from that statement, they haven't even talked to him yet. Of course, they should have left it at that, right? Because on the reflection day Saturday, like in general elections, can you make an announcement like this? Doing it Friday night and seemingly with premeditation also seems strange to me.
Yeah, because you're a journalist. You know that on Friday afternoons, the newspapers close up shop. They shut down because Friday afternoons in sports newspapers, I worked at Marca for 20 years. It's the quietest day. Normally, yeah, there's a Friday match like Alaves versus Osasuna, and one person stays to close that page, but the rest of the things usually happen on Friday before lunch. Nothing ever happens on a Friday. Yeah, there could be a death, obviously. But if not, it's a day when no one is going to deny anyone. In fact, if you look at last night's reactions to Riquelme's statement, there's zero. It's the words of Jurgen Klopp's people, as reported by a German journalist, but they haven't had any impact because there hasn't been time. So, the timing of the election is good, but unlike in general elections, today, Saturday, there is no pre-election quiet day. I mean, Real Madrid schedules the elections on a Friday, but on Saturday the candidates can do whatever they want. So Enrique Riquelme, if he still has the energy, can do 7 more interviews, you know? No, he has no problem going on the morning news, the afternoon news, and the evening news.
And how do you think things are going to turn out? Are you one of those who thinks it's going to be 80-20, 90-10, or do you think it's going to be a little closer?
Look, he's definitely Argentinian, right? Yes, that's for sure. Until last night's statement, I thought he could reach about 30% in person. And once the mail-in votes are counted, where Florentino is unbeatable because he's been working on that structure for a longer time, I thought it might end up at maybe 78 to 22, okay? Leaving Riquelme with just a bare 20%. It seems to me that if people interpret Klopp's statement the way I did, I think that when all the votes are counted, both in person and mail-in, I think Riquelme will end up below 20%. And that's already a bad result for him. He had run a great campaign for me until last night.
Of course. And besides, damn, we've really enjoyed this campaign, man, because in the end, I mean, after 20 years, someone who comes in with so little time and at least has, I mean, I read a tweet the other day that really made me laugh. We will always thank Riquelme for waking up Tutankhamun. He said, so at least the other guy said, damn, I have to get my act together, right?
The president got really angry. I mean, he wanted to debate, okay? When he saw that he already had the required financial backing and all that, because Florentino thought that when he called the elections, Riquelme wouldn't have the required financial backing, and therefore there wouldn't be an election campaign. He would announce Mourinho on June 2nd and so on. I mean, he had everything pretty much tied up, right? When he saw that there was a campaign and he started to get angry, he said, well, I want a debate. And of course, his advisors tell him, no, President, yes, debate, yes, the kid, yes, let's debate. And of course, you see him on Horizonte with Iker Jimenez, and he says, me? I thought, I have a lot of affection for Florentino, whom I've known for a long time. No, I just think he shouldn't debate, not for any specific reason, but because he's been out of the media and bunkered down for so long. And so you've lost that flexibility and that agility you used to have. And I think that, I mean, the campaign should be credited to Riquelme, the election should be credited to Riquelme, and I think if it hadn't been for what happened last night, damn, I think he's a serious candidate. Will I vote for him or not? I may like his club project, his vision, or his personal choice of positions more or less, but I think, damn, he's not Juanito Navarro, you know, wanting to promote his works. What do you mean? How did I come up with it? Of course, I lived through the one with Juanito Navarro, Mendoza versus Ucía. It's just that, of course, when someone, yes, Santiago. Well, for Madrid, that was the Yes, the Universal project, which was a giant tower, okay? It had revolving restaurants at the top, but of course, that was, imagine, 30 years ago. 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
That's something you have to see to believe. And I think this has brought back a bit of those wonderful years for us.
Yeah, totally, man. Look, I'm not going to be able to vote, dude. I'm leaving in a few hours for the United States for the Club World Cup. And in the end, but don't get me wrong. I mean, man, these last 2 years, I've been pretty pissed off with Madrid and with what has happened. So I said, look, that's it. I said, why should I rush to vote by mail if I don't have time anymore?
You had the feeling that no matter what happened, no matter who you voted for, Florentino would win. And so, yes, I've had that feeling. I was voting yesterday. Also by mail, I had already requested it properly, and on time I got the ballot on Monday, and I had it sitting on the table through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Damn, I already made the appointment. Here, going through a notary is faster, and the process is a hassle to go to the notary, but it only takes a minute. That's why the candidacies have. And I thought, damn, the president has done badly in the last 2 years. He's done badly, because he's honestly done really badly. But of course, his legacy is unbeatable. I mean, the campaign's biggest selling point was Florentino himself. And in the end, you say, it doesn't matter. And the project of spinning off a subsidiary for football and basketball and privatizing 5% of the subsidiary, I don't think that's bad. What I think is that he's explaining it badly. But when it comes to bringing it to the assembly and then to a referendum, people will understand that what's going to happen is that Madrid will continue being a sports club, and that the management of the assets that generate money will be outsourced to a subsidiary of which we, the members, will own 95%. And if in 5 years we have to give up another 5% and own 90% in exchange for 2 billion euros each time, Miguel, then so be it. Because in the end, members like you and me, we don't own anything. I'm a season ticket holder, and I have my seat, my spot. But in reality, being a member of Madrid is more about love for the club than actually owning something. We don't decide if Florentino wants to sign Ulis or wants to sign Vitinha. Florentino and his board of directors, which is the management, and the general manager decide that. And that's the reality.
Exactly. And even if they said we were getting $100,000, we'd never actually see that money.
No, look, no. If they were transferable, listen, if they gave us a share and I could sell it to Ana Lagari, or if you wanted to buy it from me, I'm publicly offering it to you right here. And I'll let you have it for 95,000 since we know each other. Because it works out well for me, since I've got my eye on a little boat that's just perfect for me at 95,000. Well, 90,000 for the boat and 5,000 for the gas.
Hey, if you want, we can discuss Florentino on your channel since there's a second round of this collaboration. Miguel Serrano never said this. It just seems like I'm greeting and saying goodbye here. Big hug, see you on your channel.
A pleasure.
Like this video, hype it up, just like Miguel asked for his. His channel is growing a lot, and that's it. Subscribe to both of ours. See you in the next one. Bye.